Output devices today we'll discuss. Look, output devices are needed what? Unlike input devices. Output devices are used to get information from the computer, to output information from the computer. And the very popular output device is the cathode ray tube monitor. So why we need the cathode ray tube monitor? This is the old monitors from the 80s. And this monitor was very popular. Why was very popular? This monitor, if you remember, it can detect variation in the light intensity. So we used to use this monitor with a light pen. Remember the light pen? Nowadays, whenever you go to the malls, to the arcade, where you'll find people holding guns and shooting on the screen, they kill enemies on the screen, they use this kind of old technology screens. We call them CRT. The quality is the best. However, the size is big. The temperature gets so high. The amount of electricity consumed by these CRT monitors is very high. That's why nowadays it's being replaced with another one called what? LCD, or liquid crystal display. Now, this liquid crystal display, you will find that they are more popular. Why? First of all, as you can see, they are very skinny. Yes, they are flat, so they are smaller in size. The size is very small. Very good. And the amount of electricity consumed by them is less, so they are cheaper. In the long run, for you, they are more cheap in terms of the bills that you will have to pay for them, in terms of the size, in terms of the temperature of the screen itself. However, it cannot work with a light pen. It cannot work with a light pen. That's why whenever you go to the malls and play this arcade game, you will find that they are using the CRT one. Very good. Nowadays, it's even better and better quality and less consumption of power. They are using what? Yeah? Another type, which is called LED. Nowadays, your homes, I think, this is the screen you are using at home. LED, light emitting diode monitors. So the technology of this screen is the best technology so far in terms of the amount of electricity needed. This is very efficient monitor. This is a very efficient technology. With the least amount of power, you can get a very good quality. Very good. That's why it's very popular. And it's very thin. That means it's very small in size and light in weight. Very good. What about touch screen? Touch screen is considered input and output. So if I ask you a question, provide an input device, you might say. If I ask provide an output device, touch screen. Because the screen will show you, will output information from the monitor or from the computer. And whenever you are touching using your hand, you can input instructions such as double clicking on an icon, opening an app, closing an app. Are we good? Advantages: no need for additional input devices. You get it? No need for additional buttons. Easy to use. You can actually do more than one gesture, such as zoom in and zoom out using a couple of fingers. However, the disadvantage is what? Sometimes it's easy to get damaged and dirty, so it will become less visible and less responsive. And less responsive. Are we good? And it's not used whenever you would like to input high amount of information. That's why if you are working in an office, you always prefer keyboard and mouse. For heavy work, we prefer keyboard and mouse. In restaurants, your phones, your tablets, where the amount of information is not that high, we can use any device with a touch screen. Simple. What about next? What do we have else? Projector. Why we use it now? Whenever we have presentation, big classroom, big amount of audience. Yes? So projector will have a very big size. The image will be very, very big. So why we prefer it? Advantages: you can have it as big, allowing more people to see, unlike using a small screen. And user can guarantee, for example, the focal point in the classroom can be the projector, as you can see here. So whenever you'd like to attract the people attention, and the audience are very big audience, you provide them with a projector in front of them. Better than giving them paper, better than giving them smaller screen for each and every one, because they will not focus unless you put a central point, a focus point. That's why whenever they have seminars, instead of giving each and every person a smaller computer or a tablet, they prefer having this kind of projector, so everyone will be looking at the same place at the same point. Very good. Disadvantages: the resolution depends on the quality, and the quality depends on the cost. So if you'd like a high resolution projector, you pay more. A better quality image, you pay more. You get it? And the second, you need no obstacles. Nothing should be between the projector and the screen. Otherwise, it will be preventing the light from reaching the screen. So no obstacles should be there. And it's expensive in nature. More expensive than a small monitor. Very good. What else? Printers. And we have a couple of them. Look, this is very important. We have a couple of different printers for different purpose. For example, if I would like to print a very high quality image that contains so much information and so much color, like human beings and nature, I will use a certain printer called inkjet. Why? Because the inkjet has what we can call an output will be very, very low volume. However, the quality will be very, very high quality. The quality is a high quality, and it's used whenever you would like details, high details, contrasting colors, nature. So that's why whenever I take your picture, if I go to the studios will print out the picture using what? Inkjet. Very good. However, it has one disadvantage. Even though it's the cheapest one, it's cheaper than another one we call a laser. However, you will find that they are using liquid ink. That means the colors are actually liquid color. Very good. So the amount of paper that can be printed per this liquid ink are few. And you will always have to replace this ink. So you will find that, for example, if the printing costs $100, this $100, let's say, it will allow you to print 200 pages or 200 pictures, let's say. It will allow you to print 200 pictures. Whenever you would like now to replace the ink, whenever you go to the market, you will find the ink itself is $40, almost half the price. That's why whenever we see offices nowadays, or whenever we would like to print out normal papers like school papers, like exams, past papers, books, what printer we use? A laser. Why? Because a laser, it has a good quality and is very cheap per cartridge. The laser is using what we can call a toner or a cartridge, which is less expensive than using ink. That's why every office you go, even here in the school, you will find that they are using this kind of printer. Why? Why we use them? Because they can print high volume. Yes, so it's less expensive. So whenever you are actually using a cartridge, you will find that it will print sometimes hundreds and hundreds of papers without needing to replace it. Are we good? So if you would like high quality and high volume, you go for laser. If you'd like very high quality, you go for inkjet. Very good. Colorful images, nature images, people images, we normally use inkjet. Even though it's expensive, but we know that we are going to print only a couple of pictures. But for past papers and books and notes and the rest of the documents, we go for the laser because the cost is less. Now, another printer is dot matrix, and this one is used, for example, in restaurants and banks, whenever you would like to print more than one copy. For example, in the bank, if you are withdrawing money, they have to give you a receipt. Yes? So normally the printer will print two identical receipts, carbon copies we call them. One of them you will take, and one of them the banks will keep for reference. So they will ask you to sign one of them, and you take the other one, and they will take the signed one. Same goes for restaurants. Whenever you go there, you will find that sometimes in the restaurants, they will print a carbon copy. One for you, one for them. The one that you take, you will be using for getting your food or getting whatever you are buying after a couple of minutes. You get it? So how many copies are printed out from this printer? Two. And this printer is very cheap, can work under any condition, dusty condition, hot weather, yes, cold weather, outdoors, indoors. This printer can function fine. Are we good? So it's not affected by environments, and it will print carbon copies, and it's cheap to maintain. However, it's very, and the quality is poor. That's why we do them normally for receipts, for slips. Whenever you go and buy something, they give you this kind of slip. Yes, so they don't need high quality, and it's very noisy. Why it's noisy? Because it's a compact printer. What do we mean by compact? We mean that whenever we'd like to print, the printer hardware will press the paper. There will be a compact. There will be a collision. There will be a touch between the hardware of the printer, the head of the printer we call it, and the paper. So whenever we say which printer is a compact printer, the only printer that is a compact printer is the dot matrix, the only printer that the head of the printer will be touching the paper, pressing on the paper. So it can produce carbon copies, but it will produce noise as well. So it's very noisy. The rest of the printers that we have just discussed, they are not compact printers. That means there will not be any kind of a physical touch between the head of the printer and the paper. That's why they are less noisy. Are we good? Where we use them? Shops, airlines, and whenever you'd like to get how many copies? More than one identical copy of whatever you are printing. Are we good? Last but not least, what do we have? Wide format printer, or we call it a graph plotter. A graph plotter. So wide format printer, you will find that whenever we go for a wide format printer, why we need this printer? Whenever we would like a very big advertisement or paper to be printed. For example, in banners, billboards, signs, and this you will see them from far away. You will find them nowadays whenever you are crossing bridge. You will find big posters. These big posters are done using wide format printer, yes. So whenever you'd like to print using any paper greater than A3 in size, you will use bigger, you will need bigger printer such as this one. So why it's preferred? The advantages, look, what is the advantages? High, very high resolution. However, very expensive. Big size. Another advantage is very large size. That's why we call them the eye-catchy advertisement method. From far away, you will see the poster. Yes? All the streets and big buildings and crossing bridges, you will find them everywhere. What printer they use for them? The wide format printer. Very good. And we have another one that is not considered a paper-based printer. This is an object-based printer, where we call it 3D printer. 3D printer are used to print solid, unlike the previous ones. Previous ones, all of them, they print papers. This one print solid objects. That means if I would like to print this remote control using plastic as a prototype, just to show you how the remote control will look like, so I can use this kind of printer to print it out. If you like how the remote control or how the prototype looks like, I can go now and manufacture one with better materials. You get it? So it's used to show you how the product will look like. If you like it, we can go and manufacture the expensive one. Are we good? As a sample. So this one can be used where? Prosthetics, links. Whenever you go to hospitals, you will find that patient that have missing arms or missing legs, they need an artificial arm. You get it? Now, instead of making it and manufacture the real expensive one, they manufacture a cheaper one using a 3D printer. And then they will try it. If it fits and they feel comfortable, then they will go and manufacture the same dimension. If the patient saw now, I think it's too tight, too wide, too big, too small, they will still make the dimension changes using a 3D printer. After they make sure that the customer is satisfied, then they go and use the most expensive materials, and then the customer will pay. Are we good? Better than wasting money producing unwanted parts. Are we good? So manufacturing goes the same way. Whenever you would like to show prototypes, you use it there. Construction, fashion, medical applications, all of these you will find that they will use various 3D printers before they go and manufacture or build the real one. Even for building nowadays, you'll find that whenever you would like to build now, you go to some companies nowadays and they will show you the whole house using this kind of 3D printer. How many rooms, how the house looks like from outside, from inside. If you are satisfied, what they do, they go and start building your house. Are we good? So you get better idea than having to show you some design on paper, isn't it? Are we good? So 3D printers are very attractive and it's becoming popular and popular every day. So why? Because you can actually make some customization and changes. You can produce samples or what we call them prototypes. You get it? Parts can be created where no longer that are no longer manufactured. So you can create some kind of parts and put them there on the shelves as samples, as history. You get it? And artificial organs nowadays can be even created. If the customers are satisfied, then they will go and create the most robust, expensive part. Are we good? What about disadvantages? Why it's not everywhere used? You will find that it's very expensive, not only expensive. And most of them, the material that are used for printing this kind of solid object is not recyclable. Means if I use the plastic or the dust to print a specific object, let's say a toy at home for your smaller brother, for example, then if you'd like to get rid of this toy and reuse the same material to print another prototype or another toy, you will not be able to do so. You have to throw it away. So nowadays it's considered still not 100% recyclable or very expensive to make. That's why you have to be careful. And it's dangerous because I can print a gun now using this kind of 3D printer and I can paint it to look like a real gun and I can threaten people on the street using it. People wouldn't know this is a fake one or a cloned one. You get it? Or I can print even a knife and it will work. It will be a very sharp plastic knife. You get my point? So it can be used in dangerous situations. And you can print, as I said now, counterfeit, such as weapons and these kind of things. Are we good? So the only difference between 3D printers and the rest of the printer we discussed is 3D printers print solid objects. Solid objects. Now what else? Speakers, why we need them? Output sounds. Microphone, input sounds. Speakers are used for output sounds. And we have actuators. Actuators are the opposite of sensors. Sensors are input, we said sensors are input devices that will monitor changes in physical variables, and these changes will be stored or inputted to the computer by using an analog to digital converter. Remember, we can connect sensors to computers. However, we need a translation because the sensors are analog, the computers are digital. Now, actuators are opposite. Actuator, we input energy form and it will be converted into another form. For example, I will input electricity and it will be converted for mechanical motion for the motors, just like the motors using fans. Yes? You will switch on the fan, what will happen? Electricity will be converted into kinetic energy or mechanical energy. What about the buzzer? Electricity will be converted to sound, alarm. What about the heater? Electricity energy form will be converted to heat energy. What about the light bulb? Electricity will be converted to light. So actuators are part where they will be sent to effect or, for example, to make some kind of effects in the environment. For example, I can put a temperature sensor in this room, and whenever the temperature reaches any degree greater than 30, I can connect a fan with the computer, and the computer will trigger the fan to switch on. So the fan will start cooling the air or open the windows. You get it? That means the actuator can work to control the environment. Are we good? With a will affect and control the real world. Just like in this AC now. Whenever the temperature sensor shows that the temperature inside this room is greater than 24, what will happen? The AC will trigger a compressor here inside the AC. The compressor will be used for cooling the air. Are we good? Yes? So actuators are used to control the environment, and they are considered an output devices. And you need to know where we use them. An example, motors, where we use them. Washing machines. Control what? Fans. In factories to control robots or machines. What about buzzers? Where do you use them? Microwaves. And in games, whenever you start the game or you end the game. What about heater? In central heating system or in greenhouses, or where, very importantly for us, in the oven to heat our food. Yes? What about light bulb? Where we use them? Security, car, or at house, or lighting at your work and at your room. Are we good? And this is the end of chapter 2.